Recording in progress.
We're on. First order of business, pledge of allegiance. Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Everybody. Motion to approve the agenda. So moved. Is there a second? All those in favor? Signify by saying aye. Aye. Chris Bear, are there any public comments?
No, sir.
No public comments. Motion to approve committee meetings for the minutes for February 11th. March 11th are not done. So motion to approve the minutes? So moved. Second? I'll second.
Okay.
Favor? Signify by saying aye. 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 Thanks. And first order of business. Administrative regulation, SS 19, student conduct on buses.
Yes, good afternoon, board members. I'm happy to have this opportunity to introduce you to Dr. Derek Skaggs, who's our Director of Student Success, and also from our Transportation Department, our supervisors, Mr. Ben Fraser. And of course, we've been working with Robert too. And what we have done is we're trying to improve our processes with our student discipline on buses, because we've had a number of issues that have arisen. And so we've had many meetings and have developed some new procedures. And Dr. Skaggs has been very instrumental, along with Mr. Fraser and Mr. Lavelle, and getting principals and staff trained. So Dr. Skaggs is going to give us an overview of what we've been working on.
So, kind of go over kind of the process, kind of how we come up with this, and then some of the key changes that are in SS 19, which is student conduct on buses. I think you'll have a red line addition in front of you, and what that means, the red part is what's changed, right? So kind of, we met with transportation, student services, and all the area supervisors. And we revised the SS 19 to strengthen student safety, streamline the discipline process, the referral process, and ensure equitable enforcement of bus-related behavioral expectations. The rationale for the revision was, of course, safety awareness. Student misconduct on a moving bus creates a serious safety risk, as you all know. A fight in school versus a fight on a bus. Yes, we don't want to fight either way, but a fight on a bus is, of course, a lot more of a safety concern for all the students involved on the bus. The updated regulation ensures that such behavior is treated with appropriate urgency and gravity. And we'll get kind of more into that in just a minute. The process efficiency, the revisions made a consistent and efficient referral process using the district discipline management system. We'll get into that a little bit as well, but trying to make it more efficient, more streamlined, and also basically where the turnaround time was less than a day. And then define roles and responsibility. The procedure clearly outlines the responsibility of bus drivers, area supervisors, and school administration to manage discipline referrals, which helps ensure equity and alignment. Updates ensuring discipline practices are fair, consistently applied, and aligned with both the Beaufort County School District Discipline Matrix and federal non-discriminatory laws. Right. So section 1, here's some of the key changes. Section 1E, clearly defines the process for reporting bus misconduct using the BCSD bus conduct form. The drivers submit the form to the area supervisor. We created, or actually transportation created an online form that their bus drivers fill out at the end of their route for any misbehavior that might have happened on the bus, right? That goes to the area supervisor. You got one south, one north, and then also the director who gets to see them all. From there, they enter into our discipline management system, which is Educator's Handbook. And what that does, it automatically pops us as a pending referral for the administrator of that school. That helps streamline the process, because we were using more of a paper-based system. And I know some of you in here have been assistant principals, and when you say you're on bus duty that morning and you get handed a piece of paper, say, here's the referral for Wendy. It's nice if you could just go straight to your office after that, but as you know, assistant principals usually have a few hours. You never know what's going to come out of right field. This problem. The time to get there, we were realizing that sometimes it was lost, or sometimes it wasn't get put in a timely fashion. So we did implement that that process to kind of streamline it. It helps with communication, it helps with the efficiency, and it's also, what we use district-wide anyway. So it's just kind of aligned with everything else.
Because our student discipline matrix, it applies to being on a bus. It applies to being a school activity. So we wanted to support our bus drivers.
That also helps us keep up with all of the bus infractions. It also helps us from an accountability standpoint, we know exactly where the ball may have been dropped. Not that it's gonna get dropped, but if it was to get dropped, we know, okay, well, somebody didn't get the referral in, or it also allows, we were hearing from bus drivers that administration wasn't taking it serious enough. And those open up those conversations. Hey, we've seen there's been 4 bus referrals on this student. Here's what they're for. Are we following the matrix or not? And that allows us to go on and have more objective conversations with them versus where did you lose the form? How did this happen? How did that happen? Kind of see what the breakdown of the process is right there. So we can provide support. There's the keyword.
Because we want to
support,
work
if
as
you
a
will.
team. Our
Yes.
work to work as a team. That's our.
So section 3 was also changed. Expectations for students while waiting for the bus, boarding, riding, and exiting were revised and expanded. The language was updated to promote a positive, student-friendly tone, clarifying both expectations and prohibited behaviors. Also, section 3.e, exiting procedures was updated. A new bullet was added to explicitly guide students on how to exit the bus safely. Students must exit calmly at their assigned stop and only cross in front of the bus after the driver gives a clear signal. And then there's been some new stuff from the federal government come down as far as non-discriminatory clauses. So we did update our language on our non-discriminatory clause to make sure that we were in alignment with the new guidance from the federal government and our president. Implementation status, all area supervisors and transportation have been trained on the updated procedures and have accounts in educators handbook. And have been trained how to use educators handbook. So we have implemented this. And then all the updates on the AR student code of conduct, which is what you're reading now, are being proposed now. And I hope to keep everybody more aligned, keep this more of a streamlined process, and also keep our transportation safe for all students. That's basically that. Any questions you all have?
Have,
Yeah.
Bob online and Isaac Gordon and Pastor Gordon wants to speak.
Gotcha. Mr. Gordon, did you have some comment?
Yeah, just so I can be clear, the referral system with the students on the bus. Once the driver writes it up, it goes to the area supervisor. From the area supervisor goes, the director takes a look at it. And who else did you say?
So when the driver writes it up using the transportation form, that's almost like their statement, like of what has happened. Like this is
Right,
what occurred on my bus. This was who was involved. That
Right.
goes directly electronically to the area supervisor, who
okay,
then kind of reviews it and then puts it in our main system for the entire district. It's called Educators Handbook. And that's
Okay.
for any infraction that teachers put in, that assistant principals put in, that anybody in the school, if a student commits an infraction, that's the system we use district-wide. So the
Okay.
supervisor puts it in that system there.
And it
All
goes
right.
in right away.
Yep.
It will go right away,
Yep.
sir. So
Yep.
we're not going to have any delays.
Yep, it goes in right
That
away.
day.
And it'll pop up for that school, whoever handles discipline, it pops up, says as a pending referral right there, like almost automatically. So as soon as the area supervisor puts it in, within seconds, it's popped up as a pending referral
to the school.
for the school. Yes, sir.
Okay, and the reason why I'm asking this question, because I was a bus driver for the last 20 years. Matter of fact, when I won this election, people kind of retired me, so I've been doing this. And one of the things that I guess is a complaint from the drivers is that once it get to the school, so how is it checked? That once it get to the school, that the drivers is assured that it's going to be handled.
So that's another good thing about using our system. Once it gets to the school, it pops up as a pending right there
Right.
on the spot. As
Right.
soon as the school, and actually the area supervisor can still see it as a pending if it's not taken care of. But also as soon as the school administrator completes the investigation and assigns a consequence, that pops up on the area supervisor dashboard, which then allows them to have that conversation with the bus driver saying, hey, you've been heard, here's what happened, here's the response of it. And also you shouldn't pick up Whitney tomorrow because she's been suspended. Like it increases that communication tenfold. And also it keeps that dashboard, which also allows me to get with the area supervisor of transportation to review that kind of quarterly to see kind of making sure we're being consistent with consequences, first of all, but also, being able to give that feedback to the driver saying, hey, look, here is what's going on when you submit this, because it keeps track of everything. And it does have a data dashboard per se to show exactly what happens with each referral that comes through.
And in Educator's Handbook, it is the same process that we follow for all disciplinary proceedings. So now it's consistent and there's no more doing things by paper. It's all electronic. So it's making it so much better, sir.
Yep, it's immediate feedback on exactly what happens through each part of the process. And if there is a
Okay.
breakdown in the process, that allows us to go in there and offer support to help remediate whatever the breakdown may have been.
Okay, and I know, from my future experience is that a lot of times what was happening in the past was when things get done like this, or a child gets a referral, it has to be paperwork if the child is, constantly getting referrals. So with this way, this sounds good. This sounds real good because the driver getting feedback is very, very, very important, because a lot of times the driver feel like, they're being ignored, and the situation still persists. So this sounds good. This really sounds good.
Yeah, Mr. Gordon, this is Mr. Frazier from the supervisor down in St. Helena.
Yeah,
And,
Mr. Frazier.
Yeah, we've been using this a couple of weeks now. And the response that we've gotten from the administrator, as well as being able to give the immediate feedback back to the driver, has increased the morale, and the drivers are feeling more supported, which was one of the major
Yes.
factors of us trying to implement this system so that we could get the drivers feeling the support from the administration. And to this point, using this system, it has really done a great job for us.
Yeah, this sounds good. This sounds good. This sounds good. I appreciate it. This is good stuff.
Yes, sir.
This is good stuff.
Anybody else have any questions?
I have a question at the appropriate time.
All right, Mr. Dallas, I can take just a second.
Not a problem.
My question is, when they put these infractions in, how much of the student, in terms of referrals across the district are the bus drivers able to see?
They're only able to see their referrals.
Okay.
And actually, the bus drivers themselves can't see any of them, only area supervisors see them, which is why we implemented that one. That's, instead of letting the bus drivers enter them in Educator's Handbook, we wanted them to send it to the supervisors to keep things a little more confidential, but also the area supervisors can only see bus referrals. They can't see if little Johnny, I don't know, was smoking in the bathroom or something like that. They can't see any of that stuff. They can only see what happened on the bus.
Right.
So it kind of keeps things a little more confidential.
Well, and not only that, I can see now where parents come calling me and say, hey, Mr. Smith, this bus driver put his referral in, and they mentioned that they've seen other referrals in there, and they're targeting my child. So I want to make sure we eliminate that beforehand. That I can confident. I mean, respectfully, ma'am, that's not accurate because they can't see it. But it's just good to know that, because I know that
Yes, sir.
my constituents we have a great relationship, and I can just see when I'm not calling me and telling me that. So
Yes, sir.
that's just something I want to make sure that we.
Yes, sir. Only the area supervisor and the director. And I can't, being an area supervisor for the north side in St. Helena.
Right.
I can't see south side.
Yep.
All I see is the north side schools, which is the ones that I would work with.
Yep.
In case Kevin was out, I might have to go to Battery Creek and do, referral for them.
Right.
But that's all I can see is the north side, ones that are under my district and the ones that are under his.
Right.
Everything on the south side is south side supervisor. So the chances of a driver, which the drivers never even put the referral, they just write them and give them to us. We do the entering, and there's no chance that they can see other referrals on the student.
And then also,
Right.
you can't see if a teacher puts referrals, for example, you can't see that.
All I
You
can
can't even see that. And that's a good thing about collaborating with the team. You start looking at all those angles before you implement something. That way you don't get into a problem, oh, shoot, we didn't think about that, because and now parents call, hey, the bus driver's target. No, we actually worked together with the team, thought about all that up front, which is another benefit of working with the team.
Can I say
Dallas?
one more thing? Go ahead.
Mr. Gordon, I'll get back to you. We need to make sure
Sure.
everybody's heard first. Mr. Dallas?
Sure.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Question I have is, it sounds like an excellent improvement. The frequency of the supervisor checking on the reports that are coming in so that they don't just sort of like accumulate there? What's the frequency of the protocols for the supervisor checking what's coming in on a daily basis? Is it daily?
Yeah, I'll let the supervisor answer that.
Yeah, we get an email when a driver enters.
Right.
So when the driver enters a referral, we get an email directly to us, and we usually enter it right away. And it'll in Educator's Handbook, it'll let us know that we submitted it properly and we're waiting on an administrator to give us some kind of consequence or whatever the situation is.
Also, the good thing about using one system is that doesn't only get checked by transportation, but we are always monitoring student data, behavioral data, and the schools are always responsible for monitoring their own data. So it's almost like a triple check since we're all using the same system now.
Thank you very much.
Anybody else have any comments? Mr. Gordon?
Oh, I just wanted to say this, that, you know, for years, and being a bus driver for the last 20 years, for years, one thing that happened in Beaufort County is the driver's complaint was we've lost driver empowerment when it comes to things that happen on a school bus. And thank you. You have given it back. We appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes, sir. And I would just say, I did what Mr. Gordon said. I just thank y'all for putting that work in and getting that done. I'm not sure exactly. I guess I imagine y'all came up with that in team with Mrs. Cartledge. I do want to thank y'all. I do know that drivers have said that, and we have had some of those issues in the past. But I do thank you for working on that so that now we can move forward and everyone's happy. Happy drivers, happy life. So,
Part of our issue with the discipline was we're looking at angles and avenues to keep drivers.
Yep.
Retainment is important.
right,
They know the routes, they know the kids,
right.
they know the system. If you have drivers leaving because they don't feel supported and you're bringing in new drivers every year, it's a, just a non-ending process. And we're trying to find ways to retain drivers.
Yes.
This is one avenue that we think is going to help. There's some other avenues that we would need to look into, but discipline is a main avenue because when you're riding around with that many kids every day and things are happening on the bus and the disrespect level has increased over the years, to not have the support will drive. I mean, why would you do it for what they're getting paid? Why would you do that when you could go down the street to Harris Teeter or Publix and make just as much?
Right.
So the support, and we appreciate the support of the board, backing the drivers and saying, yeah, I mean, this is an important job. This is the first step in the process of the education, getting them to school, getting them home from school. So retaining drivers and having them feeling supported is very important. So that's the avenue that we have started looking at. How can we retain drivers? How can we show them that we've got their back? And this is the first step. And we're again looking at other areas that we might make some improvements as well.
Well, we're looking forward to hearing hand to hand about those other areas as well. But thank you for this step. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, I have comments too. What's the scope of all this? Is it being used by every bus driver in every school right now? What about activities, after school activities? So football team goes, is it still being implemented at that time also?
That's an extension of the school, so we still handle it the exact same way.
All right, awesome. How long has this been in use now?
Couple weeks, like 2 or 3 weeks.
2 or 3 weeks. Are we seeing, where do the cameras come in on this? So somebody makes a referral, okay, and so is the camera footage immediately pulled to validate the referral?
It kind of depends on the level of the referral. And then also how much other evidence we have that supports that. Like, for example, if it's a controversial type infraction where, parents are saying this didn't happen, students saying it didn't happen, we're getting 2 different stories, then that video is getting pulled immediately almost, so we can kind of, let's just figure out what happened. So I know we did discuss this a lot when we were collaborating. Actually, we were sitting around this table when we were collaborating. And the time that it takes to pull every single camera is almost not realistic for every single infraction. Unless it's a serious infraction, it's gonna go to a hearing, of course, that's automatic. Or if it's one where there's a controversial, like I said, we just can't get a consensus on what happened, so let's just go on and pull the camera. And that is because of the amount of time it takes to go get that box off the camera, bring all that box into the, y'all know the process, bring it into the office, download that film, and then upload it, or then put it on the drive and give it to the principal. That's a pretty time-consuming process, so we only use it if we have to, just to make things easier if we have to. Most of the infractions, though, there's not much argument. I mean, it's kind of cut and dry. There's enough witness statements say, yeah, he did this. The student says, yes, I'm sorry. The parents like, yeah, he won't do it again. And then we go on, we assign the consequence. Hopefully, he learns his lesson, and then we go on to the next thing for the majority of them.
All right.
And so they let me know when there's a serious incident and they always come and show me the videos.
Have we seen an impact on behavior yet? I know it's only been 2 weeks, but.
It's only been
a
2
couple
weeks. The biggest impact we've seen just from hearing from the supervisors and Mr. Audit, of course, is the morale and the support that the bus drivers are feeling right now. I do believe being consistent with behavior, letting kids know what to expect, and also aggravating, because all these would be aggravated as well. As far as you're gonna get a little bit more consequence for this. I do firmly believe that there will be, but we don't have the data yet to support that.
I believe across the system, all the administrators start following kind of the same matrix as how they deal with situations such as Beaver High deals with a situation, the administration there, Ladies Island Middle School, those two students were involved in a situation, a middle school student, high school student. Beaver High disciplines differently than Ladies Island Middle School. Well, now this will bring some consistency across the board. And I think over the next 6 months, we'll start to see some improvement in the discipline, because now there'll be some consistency. Now there'll be some seriousness brought behind the administration saying, okay, this is how we're dealing with it now. Before, it was kind of left up to the administration to deal with it, how they deal with it, or how they dealt with it. And the inconsistency had kids saying, well, I don't care. I know they're not going to do anything anyway. Now, when we've got it across the board, everything is working the same. The consistency will make the students change their ways, because now I know what's getting ready to happen. And I'm starting to see these other students are being disciplined this way for doing this. I know I can't do that, because that's the way it's going to be dealt with me. So I do believe that we'll see some improvement in the discipline. But it's going to take a little bit of time for the consistency to go all across the board.
Are we collecting data yet? On referrals processed and all that kind of stuff? Can we start?
That happens automatically. So as soon as, like I said, as soon as they put it in, it goes into our main database. It goes into our main behavioral database. It takes track of every infraction for the past, I was assistant principal in 2013 from Beaufort Middle School. We've used the same system, so we can actually go back through the years and start comparing bus infractions. Now, the only difference is going to be we're more consistent on getting them in now, right? Versus before, someone might not have made them in, so there's going to be a little discrepancy there. But we will be able to go back, especially starting now into next year, right? And go back and compare apples to apples to really start seeing a change.
Excellent. That's good, because I would like to see a 90, 180, and 365 day update on data, and just to see if this is yielding results.
Yep.
Is that something we can do?
For sure.
Excellent.
Also might be a good idea, since we're getting, because there's other collateral data, right? Like with the morale of our bus drivers and retention of our bus drivers, that might be a good idea to get us some type of survey or something out there for them as well. Just because there's other data points that this is going to help with, other than student discipline, which is an important one, don't get me
And
wrong.
we had our special ed training to help our bus drivers and monitors, like special situations with children with autism and different ways to communicate.
But just having a happy bus driver automatically reduces some of the tension and some of the climate on the bus, which automatically, typically through the research would make a more safe bus ride with less behavior.
Excellent. All right.
Mr. Dallas put it in, consistency is important.
Yes.
Any other questions, comments, concerns? Going once, going twice? All right, so on to next.
I do.
Thank you. Baseball is very important.
Thank you.
You need to be there. Thank you. I'm just going to move for the next person. Kevin and Glenn, if you'll wait just a second, I'm gonna come out for a minute. Robert, let me get out of the way.
Oh, thanks.
Mark's got it.
Did Augustine get online?
Yes.
Okay. Well,
Yes. He's
Augustine
I'm
is,
here.
all right, he's here, but he is home right now, so Mark Cole is going to do the construction update for you. So with that, Mark, let you take it over from there.
All right,
the presentation.
yeah, we might,
Okay.
but the 29 bond referendum update slides, really 3 through 8. Just reports those specific projects that are just technically still under construction. I would like to say that those projects really are finished. Construction is just the final programming of the intrusion system, which is happening. But I will report that all projects are reported as green traffic lights, budget and schedule. Keep going.
Yes.
Keep going.
Not too far ahead.
No,
Okay.
keep going. Now, the closeouts of the 2019, which is slides 10 and 11, there's 22 projects closeouts still to remain. And there's a total of 210 financial commitments that have been completed to date. The process that we go through, just for everybody's information, we have to financially close out these projects before we physically close them out, which is the as-built warranty information. And projects that are this size, this complicated, it just takes time to get through that process. But we are making a lot of progress. It doesn't necessarily show it on the list as we list it, but we're making a lot of progress.
Agreed. Can you go back up one more? Fourth quarter of 2023 was the targeted closeout? Why are we a year and a half later after our targeted closeout on some of this stuff?
I would say that's probably the biggest lesson that was learned in this process. Early on, it was easy to sort of schedule the projects in a normal sense of scheduling the project. What we found was, because we ended up, in essence, doing business with 2 preferred vendors, that those 2 preferred vendors got overloaded. And once one project got delayed, it delayed the second one and the third and the fourth. So, you know, the option was stop all the work and finish, let's say, 2 of them, or to work through the process and allow all of them to continue. But because they were originally scheduled, we left them on the list as that, as opposed to changes originally scheduled dates.
So don't we have a representative from Thompson Turner working in our building?
Well, when he's talking about the 2 vendors, he's talking about the IT, the subcontractor level. This was, it wasn't a contractor level issue, it was a subcontractor.
Oh.
With all the IT type work.
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
the guy whose wife something or other and got sick or something. Is that the guy?
That was early on, that was at the design level. You're going way back. No, this is the installation of the IT contractors. What bogged things down.
Mr. Nay, if you remember, months ago, we discussed the delays that we had seen with Allied Universal and their manpower, and how we started holding weekly progress updates with the contractor and guiding them through the process so that we could wrap this up quick. That's why you see a lot of these, like Mark said, they were the original schedules that we were given, but due to the manpower issues that we had through the project, finally, eventually, after multiple calls with their leadership, they've committed more resources to our area. And a lot of the projects are now nearing the completion stage. I mean, if you look at the reports, there's probably actually from the last report that I put together, we only have one project that's outstanding on the camera, an intrusion alarm. And then the rest of the projects are just right now working on training and compiling all the closeout documentation as well as the financial reconciliation. So that's in a nutshell what's occurred with the projects.
So at this point, I mean, it's irrelevant how we got here. What kind of leverage do we have available to us to say, we've been waiting on your closeout paperwork for a year and a half? Paperwork, we're waiting on paperwork. What leverage do we have available to us?
Well, the first leverage we have is we're not paying for anything that's not complete. So, you know, we're putting as much pressure on the GCs as we can to get the invoices in. But we are looking at them, you know, as they come in very closely, because we want to make sure we are not paying for anything that's not complete.
All right, well, it doesn't seem like the general contractors have any type of fire lit on them to get the stuff done.
Well, I think the general contractors feel the pressure, but we'll tell you at least one vendor, monetary pressure is just not there. Halfway through the project, there was a number of these projects that these guys wouldn't even invoice for work that was clearly done and in place. So it's a different world when you have subcontractors that are not interested in earning money. I mean, I can't say anything fair to that.
Fair enough.
Outlet is a massive company and we're a very small fish. Even though it's a big project to us, it's an extremely small project.
Okay, all right. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to stall your presentation. Mr. Smith?
And I just want to go back to what you're saying. Even though we're small fish to them, then what that tells me is that we need to change who we're dealing with. Because if we're spending taxpayers' money, then when it just is, for instance, when you're building a house, you're not going to say, well, I'm gonna go to a company where I'm just a number. You're gonna build a house with someone who understands you. When you call, they come. You know, because once again, we have situations that people might not go back to the original of what was said when the question first was asked was the preferred company. That might be the preferred company, but at this juncture, when we're dealing with taxpayers' money, we can't always use the preferred. We have to use who's available, who's going to get the job done, and who's not going to stall these dates. Who's going to bring the paperwork? I mean, that's just reality. You know, I hear what some of what you're putting down, but at the end of the day, it comes down to black and white. And when you said that they won't get paid that they won't get paid whether they do the job or not, it's to me it's bigger than that. Because when they don't do the job and we still have we still have time in between the time of them doing their job and construction is going up and y'all come and y'all tell us, oh well, the construction is going up, materials going up, that comes back on us. It didn't come back on them. So I'm trying to figure out, I'm trying to gather my mind here to how are we moving forward, how this is in terms of learning the lesson here. What's going to be different about moving about how we move moving forward, because hearing what I'm hearing, it doesn't seem as though there's no driving force to say we want to change how we've been doing business. And for me, that's a problem, because it's our job to be stewards of constituents' money. If you're coming and you're telling us, well, construction is going up and we have projects sitting there, and you say, well, because they don't take it serious, so they had to send us invoices for their money. It doesn't matter to them, but it matters to us. And it is gonna, a long period of term, it's gonna cost us more, not them, us. So I just wanna put that is a strong concern, moving forward.
We'll say that we have not given them any more projects in a long time. They're just finishing up the projects they'd already been assigned.
So
We are
the
not
contractor that, and I'm sorry to interject there. I'm trying to see if I could raise my hand and online like you do in Teams, but I can't. So just coming in on that. But to what Mr. Otting is saying, that's exactly correct. We are not, and so Ally Universal put us in a really bad situation, and we're just looking to finish the work with them right now. They are not getting any more contracts going forward.
And that's fine, but
That's over. And the things that we're doing right now to rectify that and to not fall into the same pitfalls is in the 2023 referendum, you have a pilot program. And the way that we're doing is that we're not doing just one vendor doing the work. We're spreading the load amongst multiple vendors that are local to the area or that are in the South, in the Carolinas region, so that we don't fall into the same issues that we did with Allied. And I think that was part of all our lessons learned discussions that we've held towards the end of the summer. And those are discussions that is still going on, just to make sure that, hey, everybody still remembers we are not to give Allied Universal any more work. Anything that's an ad or anything that is a 2023 referendum project, that is not going through that vendor because they are just not responsive. And again, we don't want to fall into the same issues because we want to deliver to the public.
Well, that's better to hear, Mr. Vargas. Because when I heard their preferred, you know, when I go grocery shopping, I may go to Walmart because I prefer there. So to me, that was a catchphrase. That was a catchphrase word that definitely sent one of the alarms off. But I appreciate that. That's a little refreshing. Hearing that. Thanks, guy.
Yeah, also the big change in the 2023 general contracts. There are now penalties for not getting your paperwork in and closed out. That puts more onus on the general contractor to get his subcontractors to do the job. And so the general contractor is not going to hire a subcontractor, leaves them in the lurch and causes them to pay money. So that's another thing that's different. We learned a lot in 2019 on this, and we now know who we can't trust anymore, and they're not getting any more contracts. So it's fortunate, but that's a problem with not having done major projects for 11 years. You know.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
It was, I'll direct it to Robert, but is there an absolute deadline where the general contractor would have to get it done?
So on the IT type projects that we're talking about, and that's what one of the things Mr. Guy is referring to, is that we did not really have an absolute deadline on those. All projects going forward we do, but in the current contracts, what we're finishing up, there's not.
We just hope it gets done.
Lessons.
We're getting there. It is, I mean, like as of right now, like we referred to, there's hardly any work. Almost all the work's done.
I think the major hanging chad now is, well, we can't spend any of the overage funds until all the projects are closed out. Is that the case? So we got 22 projects to close out because we're waiting on paperwork, but we can't spend any of those funds until we get paperwork.
So Mr. Nate, to that, go ahead, Robert.
All right. Mr. Dallas, did you have something?
Yeah, yes, sir. I just want to follow up that this has been a problem for some time, and I'm glad to hear that some of the topics that were discussed as liquidated damages. And one of the things that was discovered was that I can't remember who just raised it, but in the initial contracts, and we did not actually put in checkpoints where those things had to be scheduled and done. So those are some learnings. So last year, this time, I think it was 31 that were delinquent, and now we're down to 22. So it's good to hear the firmness with which we're dealing with it at this point. So, well, not this point, but over the period of the referendum. So thanks.
All right. Any other comments about this topic? and just move on.
We can go to 13.
For the 2019 financial recap as of for March 31st.
Again, the current budget, the 710,000. Paid and committed is 371,703,000 and some change, which leaves the remaining funds to commit at 4,006,367. Contingency activity in March, we had almost $2 million of savings returned, and we only used just slightly more than 200,000. Which currently in the contingency, there's just a hair over $3 million.
So, I mean, to answer your question, so we're now actively spending that money, that contingency money on those project lists. So we're starting to move those forward so we can spend that $3 million down.
Oh, okay. I thought we weren't allowed to spend the money until all the projects closed out.
No, well, the money's in contingency. What we had to have, what we've done is ask for money partial back that they could give back. So that money they've given back that's in contingency, we can now spend.
Oh.
As you see, we got $2 million back last month. So now we're actively working down that contingency pot.
Gotcha. Okay.
And that'll be that project list where Mark's about to go.
Is there a reason to go down this list?
It's the same list that we presented at the board on Tuesday.
Say that again?
Oh, no, I'm saying it's the same list that we presented at the board meeting on Tuesday. So now we're proceeding with that project list as Mr. Otting did explain. So right now everybody's getting pricing on some of the projects. Some of them we already have actually issued amendments out. So as we progress through the reports, you'll see that these items are slowly being taken care of.
On this list, when it says security cameras.
That's that was stockpile.
Okay.
That was spare parts for IT in case that things broke down. But
Right. You know what? I apologize. I do remember now. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
I do remember that. Thank you. Appreciate that, Mr. Vargas.
You got it.
Pause there for 1 second, because that's really the update for the 2019. If there's no other questions, we can shift and talk about the really 2023 referendum.
And so.
In Bay River. And I will report that all of the projects except for one have a green traffic light for budget and schedule. The only one that we're carrying a yellow is the May River Elementary School. And that has to do with an easement issue that has to get resolved before the final building permit can get issued.
Well, we're on that one.
Slide 22, Bay River High School. Slabs complete, masonry's complete, rough in for mechanical, electrical, plumbing, scheduled to begin this month. On track. Because the weather leaves us alone.
And in case you don't know, the clock meeting tomorrow night will be held at May River High School. And we will be doing a tour of the CTE building at 5:30. If you're interested. But it's May River High School. Okeechobee Elementary had something going on tomorrow night, so we moved it to May River High School.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna be able to be there because you got junior scholars.
Yes, it is. Yeah, you have your.
Please give our regrets to the
Yep.
clock.
All right, new early learning center layout's been finalized. The design team's working on finalizing the design options.
There's a public reading for the annexation and rezoning, which is scheduled for May. And SDs are scheduled to be received in the second quarter, excuse me, of 2025.
Zoning or where?
This is the Learning Center in Bluffton next to River Ridge Academy.
Moving on to Hilton Head High School.
Phase 1 construction is on schedule.
Moving on very well. The design for phase 2,
3, and 4
is progressing as yet.
There should be a couple of pictures there now. You've not seen it, it's pretty impressive. For the ladies on the medal.
Okay.
Oh, I didn't know. Okay.
No, that's fine.
I didn't know which order it was in, but Beaufort High CTE, we've got design development.
Packages are due this month, actually this week.
We're gonna really sort of use most of next week with Thompson Turner to get a
quick understanding sort of where we're at with budget, but they
are gonna price the schematics and to be making adjustments if needed. But the plan is to be done with design in the fall. We're having a lot of discussions right now with the school of how to coordinate the rooms within the building that have to be renovated. And what that means to student relocations and things like that. All right, Ladies Island Middle. We had a schematic design review with the architects
this afternoon. It was based on some budget challenges that we had. We're sort of back on track. And we're expecting to see that schematic design package come the end of the month.
Oh, what kind of budget challenges are we having?
Well, with everything else,
That building particularly had its
challenges because of the original design of placing the building on the athletics and then reconstructing the athletics in front of the building. Turned out in the process of pricing all of that, the pricing of rebuilding athletics was just far more expensive than we could afford. So we now have a scheme that leaves athletics alone, places the building between athletics and the current building, which means the current building can stay operational. And those sort of movements and its, reduction in the size, we're back on track.
That's what we did, moved up, added a second or a third layer.
And part of that,
Went to a third.
Right, and some of that concerns me because of the mere fact that, on these other projects that we've had, we hadn't really cut too many corners. And now it kind of seems as though we're going to, trying to cut corners and trying to, got different ways of, how to get some of these projects, how to get this project here done. And what's good for the goose is good for the gander. And I want to make sure that we're being fair and sensitive to everyone's needs, that we're not cutting that we're not cutting corners when it comes to, because it's something that our grandma say in terms of nominator, you pay me now, you pay me later. And this order, we may not be here later. And I don't want to come back and say, hey, well, you were on the board at that time and this didn't happen. So I just want to make sure that we're not cutting corners and that we are continuously, but that we are involved in the community and that we are being accurate in terms of how we're dealing with them and in terms of what's going on with the project and who, what, where, when, why, and how. Because, you know, there's one thing to go out there and tell them that this is how it's gonna go the first time, and then come back and say, oh, well, we're gonna change it and we're gonna add this and we're gonna do this on the top of the building. And some people are not, are not under that umbrella, because actually, it's in two of this meeting, just to let you know too as well, we've been talking to the SIC committee, and actually tonight, they have an SIC committee, and I've been asked, because of some parents have been asked, when that has been, have asked me about that question and about the, some of these questions in terms of going from from a 2-story to a 3-story, and some of those questions, has came up in the, you know, I normally will go into the SIC meeting, but I've learned that it's the same as this meeting, so I'm in a minute, eventually, Mr. Chair, that this meeting here will be a conflict with that, as well. But I just want to put that out there, because I am having constituents who have asked those questions, who have asked, you know, I hadn't been to the last two, because realizing that this meeting here is the same time as our SIC meeting, but those are the questions that have come from there. You know, so I just want to put that out there while we're going over this, that there are some questions, and there are some process questions, and how do we get here from the original discussion that we've had over at the school.
Yeah, and we had that conversation today with Dr. Brown. She told us that SIC was tonight. She is not going to talk about the building. We don't want to present the building back to the community until we're ready to present it. I will say that right now, we have not lost any program space in the building. In initial community meetings and whatever, there were some sort of wants that were put on the table. We thought we could afford that, but as it turns out, we probably can't. But nobody has seen what the building is yet, and we're not going to present it until we're ready to. That was part of the discussion.
If I could, I mean, the process that we've used on Ladies Island Middle is the same as every other building we've done. The one difference I'd say is that some of the constraints with cost to the athletic field had design team and the construction manager, you know, Thompson Turner, working together to figure out how to get through it. And in the end, everybody sees that the end result's a better building than we had before. In the end, everybody's like, this worked better than the original concept. So this just is kind of a proof of how sometimes constraints and working together as a group, you build a better mousetrap than you did before. So that's where we all feel we are. And so to me, this shows the success of that process.
I feel like this is very similar to what we went through with Hilton Head High School. When we were looking at the concepts of how this could happen and phasing. We had all those phasings and, you know, mobiles and all those things out there. And then we went through the process and came up with a better plan, less phasing, less disruption, more parking. So again, like Robert said, same process we've done with all of our projects.
And that may be true. However, actually, we did show them, we did show them what the building was to look like. When we were there, I believe we did show them that, because that's how a couple of they actually they know that this building is going to be a 3-story now. So I believe that we did show them something in reference to what it's supposed to be look like. And so once again, if we're going to the community and we're involving them, then we can't, when it's convenient. And when you said the team, the question comes who, where, what, when, why, who's the team? And when you involve the community, you make them feel like they're part of the team, and we leave team members out. Then that's when I hear about certain things that that the team is concerned about. And every frog praises his pond. Everyone is concerned the same way. Hilton Head was concerned, and they brought their concerns to the table. Well, now we're up, and the concerns are coming. And so I'm going to address them as they come to make sure that I'm doing my part, because my constituents are going to hold me accountable, and I don't mind being held accountable. So that's where I'm at with that.
Yeah, one of the things I would tell your constituents, same thing we ran into in Hilton Head High School. When you build up at a 3-story rather than a 2-story building out, you think about it, it's a much more secure building. And security is a very key worry about our parents and so on in the schools. Think about it, you go up, you have less exterior doors that you have to worry about. You can control the building much easier than you can when it's spread out. That's why present school is such a bad design, because it is so spread out and it has cul-de-sacs. It won't let people get out of there from the different modules that were built there. So one of the things that's why Hilton Head High School is 3-story too, is because it's not only less footprint, but more security.
And I hear what you're saying, but I think that just to be hypothetical, I think that it basically is about the time that we're in, because
Yeah.
all these buildings, they change upon time, and as you get different builders and different things changing, like our security and safety, maybe the target this year, or so all that has a little to go into it. I just try to stay away from that so that I'm not hold to that. Thank you.
Slide 4.
Twenty 23 financials. Again, the original budget at 439,035.
439 million. Paid and committed is
182 million. Remaining available funds, including
contingency, is 256.57 million.
Program contingency is just a hair over 11 million. And the original project level contingency was roughly 17 million, and we're currently at just a hair over 13 million.
Questions on financials? And then really slides 45 through 75 are other updates for projects. All of those projects still are carrying a green
traffic light for budget
and schedule.
One really good note that we can say is the May River High School cafeteria expansion. Masonry is scheduled for completion in April, steel scheduled.
Completion in May, and HVAC units are scheduled to be received in June, which means they're
slightly ahead of schedule.
What?
One sort of positive thing to talk about is the topping out ceremony.
High school. It was sort of interesting.
They actually put a planter and a plant on top of that beam.
It didn't fall off. It did not fall off. Historically, they would have done a little pine tree or something, is what you sort of see in the past.
But they did sort of the southern version of that, had a version of a palm in there.
What page is that?
Page 78.
Slide 78. Request for proposals, we have a current solicitation out for the process of selecting GCs for both the Riverview Charter School
And Lupton High School CTE building. And those proposals are due the 21st of April. I would assume at least a month's process of selection before it's presented to the board.
Get a budget. You're leaving end of May.
But that concludes at least my update, and I'll open the floor for questions.
Anybody online have any questions?
None here. Thank you, sir. Thanks, everybody.
None here, I'm good.
Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate you.
Mark, thank you.
Thank you.
Andy, you wanna come up? You're next, right?
What's in my emotions?
Stapled in the wrong corner.
Like, why is it not working? I play drums. This is challenging.
It's a test. It's a test.
He's having fun trying to figure out our copy machine system.
Good evening. So tonight in front of you, you have the maintenance and custodial update for the month of March. So we'll go through this. I'll kind of talk through each page. I'll stop at the end of the custodial section, ask for questions, and then move on to the maintenance section and ask for questions. So the first page you have in front of you is custodial inspection data. Beaufort County School District completed 74 inspections during the month of March. The vendor completed 421 inspections, or all vendors. Within the 74 inspections, 41 of those were completed by our district operations staff and 33 were completed by school administrators. Our overall averages, our vendors are tracking at an 87.7 compared to our district average inspections were at 84.7. Below the inspection data, you'll see our highs and our lows for each vendor, as well as our highest average space score was for a nurse's office, and our lowest was for office spaces and meeting spaces. Moving on to the next page, we've got our staffing percentages as of March 31st. So you'll see here, this is our typical, what we've been presenting, our 3-month trend that you can see where we're tracking from January through the end of March. All 3 vendors are still achieving the overall staffing percentages above 90%. We did add additional information to this section just below our overall staffing percentages. You will see we did ask for the vendors to give us the retention rates. I wanted a 6-month. I pushed them to give me a 6-month retention rate, but they were only able to provide through the end of February. So you see there between the 3 vendors, we have a 94, a 96, and a 95%, and that's tracking through the end of February. So relatively very close to one another within 1 percentage point. Moving down to custodial deficiencies, we did have 1 vendor that we did acknowledge 6 custodial deficiencies for non-compliance to cleaning specification. The other 2 vendors did not have any infractions for the month of March. Moving on to custodial update contract review. There was some conversation our last committee meeting about performance evaluations or tracking how our vendors, we would hold them accountable for underperforming. So what I wanted to do in this section is just give y'all kind of a footprint of what we have written in the contract specific to language about how we can move underperforming schools from one vendor to another. And so this is contract information. I will tell you the contract extension renewal is October 1st. The conversation at the district level has been evaluating the vendors annually. So we are looking at having those conversations, pulling all the information and the records that we can to evaluate them prior to contract extensions. You will probably have to start, I would say, as early as the July-August timeframe, keeping in mind that we're going to have principal surveys that will go out. We're requesting the results from the state of South Carolina climate survey that staff and students just completed last month. So they just completed that in March. I've already reached out to District Instructional Services to request the survey data from that. There are specific questions in that survey that do speak directly to how well students and staff feel their facilities are being maintained, as well as how well they feel they are being cleaned. So taking our custodial inspection data, taking our principal survey data, plus taking our school climate data, and just looking at those non-performance infractions and combining all that data gives us the ability to truly, I feel, evaluate each vendor based on their schools in a really, really great way. So then we can have the discussions at the district level. If we're going to move schools, if vendors are underperforming, how are we going to do that? And we've got the data to back it up. We've got the surveys, we've got the inspection results, we've got we're tracking non-performance discussions. We have all that there. So I just kind of wanted to speak to that. I know that was brought up during our last committee meeting, and I just kind of wanted to talk and provide y'all with an overview of what our plan is, and get any feedback in that area before I move on to the next section. No feedback yet?
I just want to say, listen, I appreciate, listen, every time you sit to this table, I swear and you never cease to amaze me. We never know what you're gonna come with. I mean, that plan. No, I'm sure that a plan like that right there is no reason, why I couldn't sleep, relax, like a baby. I mean, I appreciate it. It's a thought out. You can tell there was time into it. I appreciate your hard work and dedication, because you really, you put your thumb and your heart in your projects. I appreciate it. You show it every time you sit at the table. I appreciate that. I just wanted to give you that public.
I have to echo this. We've been on here, this board for 6 years, 6.5 years. We never had anything like this. And this is a model. I mean, this is really, really first class, top notch.
Thank you. All right, after y'all have made me all red and embarrassed me, I'm gonna move on. Recognizing success. So this section, we always try to highlight our vendors and how well they're doing. We'll just start kind of in alphabetical order here. ABM did provide 2 letters of appreciation that they had received from, one was Port Royal and the other was Buford Middle. We also had the Bud Group and Interstate honor several employees for the month, as well as they provided additional project work at Robert Funk Leadership Academy and Lefty Middle School. So any questions on custodial before we move on to maintenance? No questions? Okay. All right. So the first page of the main.
I have one, Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yes, Mr. Dawes.
I really like seeing those contractor employees being recognized. And is it possible that we might consider, if it doesn't violate the integrity of the contractor and their employee, I know we got to stay hands off of that in some ways, that we could bring them before one of our board meetings and have them recognized?
How often do you want to, are you suggesting doing that? Because a lot of these are monthly recognitions. When you're thinking quarterly, monthly, annually, semi-annually?
Quarterly or 6 months probably. And you could bring them in and give them a group picture. And that might help in terms of retention. So the frequency I defer to the operations chair and the group and the board chair, but just a thoughtful consideration.
So I was just thinking, we have this meeting now that you will have your operations report in May. Would you, May 6th meeting, would you like us to, and that's before summer break. So that would actually be the last kind of opportunity for something like that. Would you like us to try to put that together for the operations committee report?
Yep.
Okay.
Great suggestion. Thank you, Mr. Dallas.
Thank you, ma'am, and thanks for the ease with which one can look at your reports visually and understand where the opportunities and the successes are. So thank you as others, as the chair and Mr. Smith and others have said.
Thank you very much. All right, so moving on to maintenance update. So our first page of the report here just goes over our maintenance total so far year to date. Starting from July 124 through the end of March, we're at a 20,843 work order count. There's three key areas that I do want to point out that we had talked in previous operations meetings about the concern with our maintenance initiated and our completed overall work order completion totals being on the lower end. And tracking downward, you can see by all three of these categories towards the bottom of the page that our total work order counts hit a spike in the month of March. So we're seeing that start to go back up, which we like to see. The other thing I wanted to point out and what we really try to push home is the maintenance is out in the field. We like to see those maintenance initiated work orders track at a higher rate. The thought with maintenance initiated work orders and getting those higher percentages is not only are we getting work orders completed, but we're actually having technicians in the field do more of a predictive or preventative thought about it. And so we're not reactive, right? So if our maintenance initiated numbers are really low, then that tells us the technicians are not really in the field, really engaged. They're not being perceptive. They're not trying to get in front of things. So that is one thing I wanted to point out in this report. We're now starting to see our maintenance initiated and that data go back up. So that puts us in that more predictive mindset. So I just want to give kudos to that because that's huge for us to get that swing back up. So moving on to work order crafts. This is the section we report on our two highest work orders crafts for the month, and our two highest were HVAC and general maintenance. So our HVAC, our highest location was actually the district office. So I'm sure this conversation has happened. We've gone in front of the board to ask for more money. So basically, I don't think, unless Robert wants to add on to our progress at the district office, I think it goes without saying, we have issues here. We have third-party contractors that are in evaluating the systems, and we're moving things forward to get systems replaced. For general maintenance, Beaufort Elementary School had the highest work order count for general work orders. 10 of those work orders were duplicate requests, so that brings our percentages down a little bit. Most of the work orders for this month, when the evaluation done, it was for malfunctioning faucets. So it was just a matter of identifying those faucet sensors and replacing the batteries. There were several pickups that were done at this school, relocating instructional materials, lock switch outs, as well as water fountain changes. Yes, sir.
That school went through a complete renovation within the last 4 years. Shouldn't be having that kind of issues with that. That was top to bottom at that school. I think we need to look at that because I would expect that from Port Royal Elementary or Mossy Oaks or Broad River, but not there.
Beaufort Elementary.
Completely redone.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the items listed are yeah, and also used items. The one item to me that's more of a construction possibly are the faucets malfunctioning with the sensor battery.
Yeah, those were high this month.
That's more about the batteries needing to be replaced. I think it
was battery
it's
replacement.
just over time, we hit a wall where all the batteries died, so they got to go in and replace them all. But the rest of it is more user stuff, not
Water
construction
fountain
stuff.
clog, filters replaced in water fountains, wasp spraying occurred, a lot of that occurred.
If we're having that kind of inoperability for those types of water fountains, then let's not order more of those types of water.
Good point.
You know, I mean,
Right.
we shouldn't have to deal with that kind of issues.
This is maybe just clarity for me. We've got in some category, the number of requested and the number of completed. In some cases, there's been more completed than requested.
So recognize maintenance on average, yes.
Yeah.
So recognize maintenance on average, it's about 24,000 work orders a year. So what we do want to see in those categories is typically what I look for is I typically want to see a lot more completed than requested, because what that tells me is that they're continuing to push through the backlog.
Got it.
Maintenance, unfortunately, they have work order backlog. That's part of the nature of the business. By having those over completed versus requested numbers, we see that they're continuing to push through that backlog.
Got it.
Does that
Okay.
make sense?
Yeah, electrical and plumbing seem to be doing quite well.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Well, my question is, how far does this backlog go? Because
I mean, we can pull a report. So the goal with backlog work orders is maintenance meets with their school administrators at a minimum once a month. That's what we direct them to do. During those conversations, our maintenance managers, we task them and ask them to pull work order reports and to do evaluations on work orders that are currently open or in open statuses. So the direction that the district gives maintenance is ultimately you're responsible for these work orders, and our expectation is that you're going to talk to school administration and you're going to work through these work orders to ensure they're completed. The other part of the work orders you got to keep in mind is we get work orders not only for maintenance specific tasks, but for other contracted service providers. What I mean by that, we get work orders for custodial in the system, for grounds, for our roofing contractors, for our pest control. I can continue on and on. So maintenance is managing all that, and they're tasked with completing and updating all of those. So if you wanted us to pull a report, you could pull a report for backlog, but I would say recognize.
You actually have it on the next page, right? You're gonna get to that. The kind of the
Well,
average
that's,
days.
yeah, I mean, that's our monthly, that's our monthly. But just recognize it's not just maintenance specific, it's for contracted service providers as a whole that service the district.
right, well, let me get right into why I'm asking this question. Over at Beaufort High School, there was a situation that happened probably about 2 weeks ago. And you go in there, I have to push a button to check in.
Okay.
And so that since the snowstorm, that had been gone. And so when I asked if there was a work order in, or because a couple parents called and said, hey, look, hey, we can't talk about. I said, ma'am, if you push the talk button or to push the button where someone can see you, they'll tell you. I said that I think the bill was on lockdown. I said they'll let you know that hey, we're on lockdown. There's nothing out here, Mr. Sus. There has to be. And so that box has been gone. And to me, that's reads almost safety and security. That box has been gone since January.
It's an A phone, I think.
The front entrance, so at the front entrance.
At the front entrance where you push to say hello, where someone can open the door for you, that's been gone since January. And from my understanding, well, actually not from, I saw they showed me, no, Mr. Smith, no, this work order's been in, and the work order has it been in since January. So and still not to this day, it hadn't been fixed.
Okay, we will definitely follow up on that and see what the status of it is. All right, you said front entrance, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
The front entrance where you push and they do, and they see who you are, and open the door. Yeah, that's
Okay.
yeah.
Okay,
And also, how about the lights? I was to the play at Beaufort High School in the auditorium, and those lights were out last year at the same time when I went to the play last year. Those lights that auditorium is dark. They told me too that work order has been in. So that's at least 2 years. This is at least 2 years that work order has been in for those lights. And those lights are still not in. I mean, I'm not
Large, the Performing Arts Center or the small?
the Performing Arts Center.
Hold on a second. Let's finish the presentation first, and then we can come back with, topics that are not part of the presentation.
What's the problem? I'm just bringing, when we're talking about this, I'm just bringing up a couple of, I'm just giving the meat in terms of what I'm talking about. I mean, I'm done, but I'm just giving a couple, just so it's not, what we talking about. Respect, I got you. Thank you, sir. All right, I'm done.
So moving on, the next 2 pages, we have North of the Broad and South of the Broad school work orders assigned. So we run the information or the work order counts and look at what they're doing within the month. So I will say for both of these, North of the Broad and South of the Broad, they requested and completed over 50% of the work orders within the same month. So they significantly increased in that category, as well as the time to complete work orders. They increased up to 97% within a 14-day period, which moved our average days to complete a work order for both north and south areas under 4 days. So those were 2 significant increases that we saw this month as far as just completing work orders that were requested and completed within the same month. Okay. I'm going to move forward to the next page. It's Mossy Oaks. So Mossy Oaks Elementary School, they were the school blitz for the month. So 50 total work orders were there. 20 were initiated by maintenance. 36 were completed. So there's still 14 remaining. And you can see here, there were 3 projects that they wanted to spotlight. Pressure washing our sidewalks. There was some repaired courtyard fencing that was done, as well as replacing damaged cabinet doors in one section of a classroom. Maintenance staffing. So we're still tracking at 87.5%. They still have 8 positions open. There are 2 positions currently in process, one for an HVAC technician and one for their loft vet. I will say the recruiting challenges and their ability to staff their positions is still a discussion with the current vendor. So I just wanted to make you all aware of that. Recognizing success. So 3 of the big things that they were able to accomplish, we talked about Mossy Oaks Elementary School, that school blitz. There is a South of the Broad school scheduled to occur this month, so we'll hit a blitz for South of the Broad school. ABM did work really hard as we get closer to year and school activities, moving up ceremonies. They really pushed to meet with school administration so they can get a good plan for making sure that schools are supported for those end of the year activities. So they were able to meet with over half of the school principals, as well as really starting to key focus on getting these athletic areas not only ready and in the process of supporting spring sports, but also graduation season is about to be upon us. And so pressure washing has to happen. There's just a lot of work that we have to do to get these facilities ready. So just know that they're starting those processes right now to identify what needs to be done so we can have successful upcoming graduations. So that concludes the maintenance and custodial report for March. Any questions or further discussion?
Gentlemen, anybody online have any questions or concerns?
No.
No, Mr. Chair, I'm good. This is Pastor Gordon.
Thank you. Mr. Smith, did you have any other projects you wanted to bring up?
No, at this time, I'll just like to say, I was looking at the county council. They put out a page. On their page today, I noticed it was today or yesterday, where they're advertising the positions and people are. I was looking at the numbers of shares. It was a good amount of shares, and I even shared it too as well. Where they're advertising what positions you know, that they may be, the people may be wanting. And I think that may be something, you know, I'm not sure, you know, I know the district put out different things and then, you know, they put out stuff for Mr. Lowe's. And I think that may be a good placeholder for us to be able to help advertise positions that the district or contractors are looking for, because that's traction. And that's another form of getting out there and free advertisement, basically. Say, hey, we're looking for this, and so kind of utilize it. And that's just food for thought. I just want to put out there in terms of recruiting and getting people in terms
Really
of
good idea.
those positions. The counties that they put them out there. They have different bullets. We're looking for custodials. We're looking for tree guys. We're looking for HR members here. So FYI.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that.
One other item, just to make you aware, the actual solicitation for maintenance came out today. We didn't have time to put that on our report, but it is now on the street.
Thank you.
Randy? Carol, you're up.
I warmed it up for you. That's a tough act to follow. No, you guys are doing amazing. Yeah. All right, so I'm gonna talk about the 8% capital improvement list that you have in your packet. First, I'm gonna kind of talk about the process because we do have some new members, and kind of so that you're aware of how we got to where we are. We do publish the facilities master plan, and so remember that's your picture look at what our needs are. And it's been 4 years now. This used to all be in one book together, and the board asked us to separate the process, and so that's what we've done. And so now we give you the big picture, and then we later with the details. So this is the details of what we have. And usually we have Mr. Nick Fila with Turner Townsend Curie, because he helps put this data together for us. He, however, is on vacation, so you get. So on the first page, the first table up there gives you a 5-year look at what we have on our capital improvement list. It's broken down by year. And then the categories that we started reporting things in: academic support, asset preservation, district level projects, district technology, safety and security, and then standardization and equity. So right now, what we have in FY27 is $58,127,000. You'll note that next year it's quite a jump, and I wanted to point out why there's two big things in that FY28. In that list, we've got a replacement building at Muskie Island and a replacement elementary school somewhere north of Broad. These are sort of, because they're in our facility master plan, that we want to replace the buildings, we have to put it in our project list. So they're in FY28 right now. But, you know, depending on how we choose to fund those.
And I'd say the replacement elementary schools were one of the community project review committee projects.
Item.
They actually had the replacing 3 north of Broad in the northern Beaufort County, and they didn't make the referendum, so we're holding them as projects for some time in the future.
But right now, we've only got money in there for one,
Yeah.
about $60 million. So, so the corresponding graph to the first table is the first graph on your left, and then the second table and then the second graph go together. So the second one is the same information, but broken down by a little more disciplines: athletic support, building envelope, building systems, FF&E, which is mostly the furniture replacement plan that we've put in place, interior finishes, music and arts, that supplies the instruments and uniforms for the schools, site work, technology, and then transportation. So getting into a little more detail on the second page, you will see the same information for FY27 broken down by school in those categories from that very first table. And then on page 3, you will see broken down by school and then those disciplines. Again, the same information, same categories, but now broken down by school so you can see where we're heading at those topics. And then on page 4, this starts the actual detailed list for the next 5 years of projects that we have. They're sorted by school name and then by the FY. So FY 27 is through page 16, I believe.
Just to clarify.
I'm sorry, through page 6. Sorry, I can't read my own handwriting. Yeah.
When we say FY 27, we refer that as to summer 2026 projects.
Right,
So,
right.
26, 27.
yeah.
Yes. So our timeline for this is to have something to the board for approval at the first June meeting. Is that our goal?
That would be our goal.
Okay, saw some emails flying around, so I didn't know if that had changed.
Oh, I actually didn't get a response from Tanya.
Oh, okay,
I don't know.
I hadn't checked, but that was our goal, is to try to get this to you in a final format. And we're kind of feeling like we're gonna have to bring that $58 million down to a lower number.
Well, so yeah, and the financial planner had $30 million set aside for this year, and Tanya had the $5 million that she had in excess capital funds from past years that is to push forward to the 8%. I think she reported that to you guys.
At the
Couple
board
meetings,
meeting,
yeah. And recognize that you have already committed for phase 3 of this building, which I forget the exact number, but I believe it was about $2 million.
Sometimes.
So really you have 33 million unless you decide to do something different. The goal would be to get this number down to 33 million. And that's the question, is how do you want to do that? Different ways. You can bring your own suggestions. You can ask us to rank a priority, give it 33 million. You could ask for a different number. So that's kind of where we are. And then at the next meeting, whatever format you want to see it in, that's what we'll bring at the next operations committee meeting.
I'm a fan of at least 3 COAs. Courses of action, sorry.
Okay.
So come up with 3 plans on how to get to 33.
3 plans to get 33, okay?
I mean, if we're gonna favor some projects over others, okay, and then that gives a chance for the board members to say, okay, if we prioritize these projects, there's COA number 1. We prioritize these projects, COA number 2. We prioritize these projects, COA number 3.
I have some ideas.
In terms of that, Mr. Chair, that is for, are you saying that for this year, or are you saying that for next year?
So recognize the only thing you approve will be for FY 27.
Right.
Right.
You only approve one.
You only approve 1 year.
Okay, right. So,
We provide you with 5 years worth of data, but you're actually only going to approve 1 of the 5. Now, you might ask us to do some things in the way we're tracking over 5 years, but all that will be approved is the.
right, and I do understand that, but when you said that, he wants, 3 ways, it's going to be for the 26, for clarity, which year is it going to be for?
It's for FY 27, which is what we would call summer work for 26.
Yeah, right, okay. I hear what you're saying, but I really think that the operations committee should start going out and taking tours of buildings, because it's one thing to have the actual work, I mean, the actual list, but also to hear some of the needs versus want, and to kind of see some things that are going on, because as we build some of these buildings and as renovations and things happen, you know, I think that we, you know, we owe it to put our eyes on it to some degree and take tours of some of these buildings. Even if we take operations meetings, maybe once a month, even to some of these schools at some point in time, I think that is very important for us to see some of these buildings and see some of the different things that are going on in the building. And also, I think that can also help when we get these lists to, one, to identify what they're bringing, two, to kind of be familiarized and say, oh yeah, you know, so and so, and to kind of understand and be able to digest these lists as well. I just think that, you know, from my personal perspective, I don't have a problem with what the chair brought himself in terms of the three ways. But I think that this body should possibly the same way how the committee tomorrow, the clock committee go out and they tour the schools. I think that we should adopt that way and sometimes tour the schools and understand, you know, what schools look like. And because doing facilities, I just think that we should have an overview too and understand too on the campuses, and you know, just to see needs versus want.
Okay.
You got a person will telling you something they need, but understanding too from your perspective as versus need versus want as well, and what staff is bringing. So that will also help us support staff when they do bring things that may not be what an administrator may want. So I mean, that's just, you know.
If I'm reading the room, if I may make a suggestion, then, for one of our COAs, why don't we do a board member submitted plan? So if, so the board meeting in June, how soon in May would you need, submission from board members or recommendation proposals?
So our next presentation will be back at the operations committee, so that will be on May 6th, I believe.
I think that sounds right.
No. Is that the board meeting?
Board meetings May
May
6th.
6th is the board meeting.
So the following week, it would be the 13th.
13th.
So if we're presenting the 13th, our documents have to be in the Thursday before. So that would be
on the
the 8th.
So we would need something
From you, let's say by the 6th, by that 4th or 5th or 6th.
So we can compile
Time
it,
to
put it
Yeah.
together, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Then, we can send out an email to the board members.
Or earlier, yes, or earlier, that's a deadline.
Okay, so queso, I love queso. So we can email the board members and say, visit your schools, visit the schools in your district, and have any suggestions for, the 8% CIP, no later than May 3rd, I think is a Friday, that Friday. Is that agreeable?
Again, our goal is to get from 58 down to 33. So that's quite a bit of projects. And
Mr.
remember,
Smith,
we don't lose the
does that give you?
projects, they roll forward. So
Right.
never take anything
Off, right.
off the list.
Right.
It just, like Robert was saying, there are projects that have been on here for a very long time. But prioritizing what needs are versus.
Right.
And when you formulate this list, and I hate to cut you off, but have you guys not done that?
How do we formulate?
Right, how do you formulate the list? By what they meet with administrators?
That's part of it.
Right.
If we get information from maintenance, from administrators, project managers, from past facilities, so we collect all that. And the number is always more than we have funding for, right? So the next question is how I don't ever like coming here with a finished product. It's kind of how do you want to weed that down from that larger number to a smaller?
So some of the things have come from facility condition assessments we did in 22. Those things have been on the list. We have a roofing consultant. He looks at those things, the HVAC manager through maintenance and our energy manager who looks at those, and they make recommendations. And, you know, they make recommendations on where this needs to be. in terms of what year we feel like we need that money the most. And you can push off stuff only so long and then something breaks. And this building is the perfect example of that happening. We had a plan. We thought this is the order things were gonna go, and the HVAC unit said, nope, I'm done. So we have to adjust, and the same thing happens in here, and we jostle things around according to how it's holding up, how we're able to maintain it, so. That
If I
the
can,
principals do get an opportunity to give their input. We do that February. We get their input. They meet with the construction project managers to talk about the list, what's on the list, what's scheduled to be done, and how things should be prioritized. And then that's how we compile the list.
And I would say it was larger than it is now. We've
It was right at
already whittled
100.
this down.
It was right around 100 when we whittled it down to 58.
My only thing is, not visiting 6 schools and coming back with a list to tell them what to do.
Oh, yeah, well, I mean, you could, at the very least, ping your principals and say, hey, we got this thing coming up. Are there any concerns that are at the top of the list for you? And then you can bring those back to say, hey, of my 6 schools, here's the top concern from each school. Is this already in the list, or can we add it?
And part of why we do have all the different kind of categories is to kind of help make some of those decisions. Safety and security, obviously, those should be top priorities. You're going to do those. Then it's starting to look at which is more important. Asset preservation, yes, on some things it might be, versus, academic support. Well, that might be really important for these. So
Well, then on
resolve
top, well, then on top of that, kind of our calculus, when we put our list together, is gonna be that we can only do so much work in so many buildings. We have to leave some buildings open in the summer.
Right.
So we may be closing a building, let's just say, to do a major HVAC job. While it's closed, we may start scooping up these other projects out there and do them all at one time, so we can, as that building's closed, we're gonna do as much as we can. So that's kind of our thought process a lot of times.
And like this summer, we're doing I forget which school we're doing, the metal wall replacement. So
And
the metal walls are coming
Shanklin.
out, Shanklin, we're doing the casework at the same time as they're painting. So again, that's one of those examples of we scooped everything up, and they're gonna end up with, basically brand new classrooms, which would be amazing. So when we've got several of those sprinkled throughout this whole list over the next 5 years too, because all this will all be replaced. So.
And the items here, doesn't overlap with the items that were presented in the capital improvement.
Referendum?
Right.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
any referendum item is not in this.
But things that didn't make the referendum list are in this list.
Yes.
And things that Mr. Smith brought up about HVAC or lighting or something could be added to this list, or
If it's not there, yes.
If it's
so
right.
prior work orders might be something that needs to be focused on, things like that. I'm just saying, I'm not going.
yes.
Yeah, especially if it gets to be a big, like it's too big of a project for maintenance to handle,
Right.
then that's when usually one of the project managers say, we need to put that on the list. Then it goes on.
Mr. Dallas had his hand up. He was asking to be recognized.
Mr. Dallas?
Yeah, very, very fascinating conversation. I would just ask us to take a look at the success of the construction program over the last, 5, 6 years. And there's been a tremendous amount of work that's been done. I am just cautious about the balkanization of our ranking, so that a particular area feels like, well, I gotta have this. Because I think the metrics that I've seen the operations committee, a team use before, have been so broad-based and specific and prioritized about where's the greatest exposure for the district. I would hate to see us migrate away from that. And I think board members, as Mr. Smith has just done, has identified some things that, he believes are priorities and others have as well. And I think the operations team, what I've seen is they listen to that. And if they can fit it within their particular decision matrix, then a lot of those things get captured. We got 33 schools, and I would hate to have 33 different constituent groups coming in and battling for which is the better, use of capital. So I would just politely caution that the process seems to be working as long as board members go out and see what's out there and bring it back in, but bring it back in before the actual presentation that the operations group is making, just for polite consideration. Thank you.
And,
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, and Mr. Downs, and normally also we would, in the past, from being on operations, probably, 4 or 5 out of the 6 or 7 years I've been on the board, what we normally do is we normally would get this list, and I'm not sure, and I'm not sure when this operations, because I just got back on the operations committee, and we would kind of do that. And normally, as a board member, when you go to your school, you kind of most things. Sometimes you see some of these things, and or people, or principals, or teachers that tell you different things that are going on. So when you read these lists, you will say, "Oh, aha!" You may see something on the list that you've been told about, or that you may have been thinking about. So when it comes down to that list, in terms of what you may get, then there may be some correlation of what you see, or what you may want to express is on there. But I do kind of agree. I agree with what you're saying. But I think just in terms of, I think it's a good practice for us to, as the operations committee, more so, just to kind of get out there and just to see some of the different things as a committee, what's going on in some of the schools, and to understand it, so that when we do get this list, or when we do have information, then of things that may be going on, and we see that we can bring it to the attention of the operations team. So not just as in but this 8% project, but even moving forward, I think that would be a good thing for the operations committee as a whole. So I just will say, I kind of echo what you're saying, but I just think we know out of sight, out of mind. But when you see things and you're out there, as I stated earlier, then these things will be for you, familiarize yourself, and also you can bring some issues to the team that you may observe yourself being out there. Thank you. So then I guess we would go with we could go with the 3 lists, because normally what he would do, they would normally what you did was, in the past, we would have a couple of lists brought to us, and we would go through those lists as a actual committee, is what we've done in the past. That's been the standard operation procedures that I observed when I was in the operations, and they kind of tell us basically off of the people who they have as I'm not sure if it was Mrs. Crutchfield or Mr. Outing stated earlier, in terms of the experts, that we may not have that information. Basically, the expert may say that this school may need a AC based upon where they're at, and it's probably going to die. And then that is terms of how we've been supporting the list, and from having prior conversation. So that's why I put that out there in terms of going out there. So I mean, that's been the standard, that's been the normal practice. Because wouldn't that be correct of how we normally dwindle this list down?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
please let us know any comments you have. If you see things on here that you're aware of that are big problems that need to be resolved, then yeah, let us know. We'll incorporate it as best we can.
And again, those categories can help you figure some of those out, the disciplines, the sub-disciplines, like you want to focus on HVAC. Okay, we're going to fix HVAC and roofs or whatever.
Well, like one year, Colonel Geyer said, I want every safety and security project that you have for the next 5 years done. So we brought every safety security project over the 5 years and brought them forward to that year. Got them done. I mean, that's what we did. So and that's what the board voted on in the end to have done. So we will listen to whatever suggestions you have.
All right.
You had 3 lists for next.
Awesome. And then I'll ping the board members by email, and we'll have something by May 3rd, and maybe that could be the third COA is board member priorities.
Okay.
Fine.
Yeah. All right. All I have.
Excellent. All right. Anything else? Questions, comments, concerns?
Topics, maybe. Future topics.
One is the employee recognition before the board, so that would be a future topic for the contractors.
Yep.
What else?
We can bring results from the staff survey to look at as well.
Yeah, they will present it, at some point. It'll be on the state website. once it's finalized. So,
Yeah, that's the state report card.
yeah, that's what
Forward as a board or you can present it into
you're talking about. Is that what you're talking about, the state report card or our personal
the
survey?
personal surveys you sent out to the teachers.
We actually sent out principals and the teacher
Yes,
group.
there's two things that I referenced. One was the principal performance surveys. So that's something that, operations department would put out to school principals, and you'll see those results. Then the second, evaluation that I spoke about was the South Carolina Department of Education puts out the school climate surveys to their staff, to school staff and students. Those specific surveys were completed in March, so just last month. I unfortunately don't know when we're gonna get the results from those. Do you know?
I don't.
typically?
I don't. It
They
takes
they
a
will
while.
present it to the board
Yes.
typically.
Yes.
Usually that comes with your state report card data
Yeah.
through academics, so.
The only other thing, and we do need to do, so I don't forget, is also, survey the teacher groups,
The
Teacher
teacher
forum.
forum.
the
Yeah, the
teacher
teacher
forum.
forum
That's right.
groups, yes.
That's how we do our teachers, just because there's too many teachers to do all the teachers, so we go through the teacher forum to get their feedback surveys.
Backlog of work orders. I think we brought that up.
Yes.
Yeah, the backlog of work orders,
How long they've been there.
what our outstanding work orders are right now. Anything else, Mr. Smith?
I was gonna piggyback off of her. You said earlier that you may have to, you was going to FOIA, you said that you were going to FOIA. Would that be from the state or would that be from, how would that work? I think earlier, she said, I think you said, that you were gonna FOIA when you mentioned it. I think you said that you were going to, I was gonna come to that too. Well, when you were talking about the, survey information. And you were talking about, basically, because you were talking about a certain proportion in terms of cleaning. And you said that you were going to, FOIA, I was gonna ask you, when it was that report shared through, I mean, was that report just generated through the state? And that's just the information that goes to the state for the district? Or was it a district report, is my question, excuse me.
So I think I referenced the individual's name that I sent the request to in instructional services. So the state, the South Carolina Department of Education, the state will her, we don't have to FOIA. That's information that the
Public
state
record.
will share with Beaufort County School District. Once those results are released, our instructional services department will have that information. And that's information that I have already put the email in and requested from instructional services to get me that data as it relates to those specific questions about maintenance and cleaning measurements as soon as they get it from the state.
And it will be on the state website.
And it will be on the state.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm familiar, because I normally go, you notice in the meetings, I ask information, test questions, because I normally go on the state website and get some information. So that's why I was asking.
Yeah.
Did you, yeah, okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
you do know too, okay,
Yeah.
okay, all right. Thank you.
Any other future topics? Go once, go twice.
Just in terms of today's meeting, it does conflict with one of my SIC meetings. So we would need to possibly, look at a different date, because, I've missed a lot of and I'm pretty active in terms of one of my SICs, and
It would be
yeah.
the same.
So I'm not, I'm not sure, and I'll talk with them too and see how we could possibly best do it, because one time I mean, words during the school boards, and they did change it to accommodate everyone who wanted to go to those meetings too. So, but I'll check back with them as well, and as well with you, Mr. Chair, just to state that, so how we can possibly do this.
So is your see meeting every Tuesday, on second Tuesday of the month, or it's just your current?
Yeah, I believe it's the same, it's the second Tuesday of every. So maybe we do the third or something, I'm not sure. Oh, that's.
Third is a board meeting.
Yeah. Okay.
She might be able to shift the time.
You're right, that's right, yeah, I mean, tentatively. Until we forgot what could be worked out, so I would say tentatively. Respectfully. Thank you.
Yeah, Brandy, just we will be bringing forward the vehicle AR. Just FYI.
Mr. Smith, because of how we schedule things, is it possible that you can get it resolved this week or next week because the other committee meetings meet? So
Yeah, I would.
as we feel
Yeah,
like-
I'll reach out to the chair and the principal and just see, yes, ma'am, I'll reach out to, cause, so he called me already, yeah.
All right. Pardon any objections, we'll adjourn for the night.
Good.
All fair.
Oh,
well,
Thanks, everybody.
It's I can't remember what the name of the motion is called, but you, consent, yeah.
Unanimous consent.